My name is Carl Greathouse, and this is my presentation on non-GAAP financials and their dark side. It's from a Giving Voice to Values case in our textbook. So, for a little background on the case, in our case, we have a CPA. Her name's Debbie, and she's sitting in on a meeting with the CFO and a new member of his team. When they're going through the quarterly financials and getting ready for the earnings call with key investors, the new member suggests that they use some non-GAAP financials. Their purpose in doing this is because they had some unusual losses in Mexico where a tsunami destroyed a large plant that lost them a couple $1,000,000. And then they also discontinued a line of chicken feed that also cost them about $1,000,000 on their financial report. So, as Debbie listens in on this conversation, they discuss giving numbers basically that don't include those and highlighting those numbers in their call. This goes against what the SEC has regulated for disclosing non-GAAP financials. They've said that the non-GAAP financials need to be supplements to and not replacing the GAAP financials. So, as Debbie goes into the meeting the next day where they'll discuss her concerns, she needs to be ready for a few counter arguments to her. One is that the events in Mexico are very rare and cannot be used to accurately depict their financial situation. Another is that they owe it to their shareholders to keep their stock price high. Yet another is that the loss on the chicken food is a one-time thing, and that they shouldn't report it because it won't be accurate, it won't continue from year to year, when in fact it's a product line that was discontinued and it's reasonably likely that it will happen within a couple of years, which the SEC regulates shouldn't be disclosed or shouldn't go on non-GAAP financials because it is reasonably likely to happen within the next 2 years. Other potential arguments are that other companies are doing it as well, and so if they don't do it, they'll look bad and their financials won't be comparable to the other companies. Another potential argument is that the changes to GAAP are unfair, and so they shouldn't follow them because they'll mislead the investors and not give an accurate depiction when GAAP is what makes financial statements comparable to each other so that investors actually can make good decisions. So there's a few potential consequences if the group decides not to follow the guidelines by the SEC. In the short term, they could potentially have a higher stock price and happier investors. But as they go long term, they could face penalties from the SEC. They could lose the confidence of their investors if it gets out that they did not disclose things as they should have. And they might be tempted as they discover that costs were not as much of a one-time thing as they thought they might have been. They could be tempted to continue the pattern just to make it themselves look good and try to conceal what they've done here. There should be, as far as the SEC, they shouldn't, as we addressed, be including the chicken feed loss on that product line. And then they also should provide a reconciliation of everything that goes into the difference between the GAAP and the non-GAAP financials and their reasons for using the non-GAAP financials. And they should also discuss it with their external auditors and get their sign-off on it as well. So what Debbie needs to do if the team doesn't listen, if King, the CFO, can't be convinced, she should go to the audit committee first and tell them what's going on. If they won't do anything about it, she should go to the external auditors. The one issue with this is that potentially, because auditors' responsibilities are a little unclear on non-GAAP financials, there may be nothing that's done. And in that case, she may file a report with the SEC under SOX or under Frank Dodd. The big important thing for Debbie, though, is that she needs to be firm in her commitment to uphold the understandability, comparability, and fairness and compliance with the law of the financial statements so that the investors can be sure that they're getting the real picture of how things actually are in their company and not what management wishes things were in their company.